Hello, how you guys doing today? I'm gonna give it a few seconds for people to jump on the live if you do. And while you're coming in, drop or you're watching from the comments. While you wait, I want to also, are you having a good day? How's the weather? Um, are you having a good week? Um, so while you wait, I'm gonna talk about something real quick. A lot of people are using AI wrong. Excuse me. They're typing basic prompts and getting basic answers and saying AI doesn't work for them. And that's like buying a gym membership and only using the parking lot. Now, what I do and what I teach at Promptify is prompt engineering. Um, that sounds complicated, but it literally just means knowing how to talk to AI so it gives you something you can actually use. Today, I'm going to show. Oops. Today, I'm going to show you in a topic, and by the end of this, you'll be able to do this yourself in about 5 minutes. Everything I show you is inside Promptify, and the link is in my bio. So for today, the sentence that I'll say to kind of summarize what we're going to talk about for today is a freelancer a freelancer's scope control workflow. Um, so let's kind of break that down. That could mean maybe not way too many things. The variation comes in what the freelancer is doing, right? That's where most of the variation comes from because what they're doing will completely define what the workflow or what the task or what the project is. And then the scope control would be upon the steps, each step that they're having to take in order to do something for a client, right? So for this, this starts with a scary, quick, extra thing message and ends with a clear scope conversation that protects the client relationship and your capacity. There's only so much you can do within a certain amount of time. Maybe this is not your only client. Maybe you have a rate for specific things, and maybe they didn't come and ask you, okay, we discussed this. I want to add on that. How much does that cost? But you have, but either whether they bring it up first or not, you have to at least clarify that, right? And there's a way you can do that. You can actually just have this conversation normally, or you can have a system that causes help assist you with doing this properly, right? These systems help take the brain work out of this, and but you have this intention of wanting to accomplish or do something, and the system helps you, right? Um, or the prompts within the system or whatever prompt is applicable, right? So what I'll do real quick is, as per usual for this week, all the short form videos had prompts that make up an entire system explaining what I just said, which is a freelancer's scope control workflow, right? So what I'm gonna do real quick is I'm gonna read off just an example of what each prompt was, like a sentence kind of summarizing what that prompt did. Then we're going to flip to the screen with the prompts. I'm going to read each prompt, read each answer, and explain how this entire system works together in order, right? So for this, so one thing I'll say real quick before I start reading the steps is scope control is not about being difficult. It's about making the work and the choices visible, right? Really shouldn't be called uh, you being difficult. Um, if somebody's rational, um, and it's like you didn't just, let's say that you were working on a project with somebody and time goes by and things get done, and you're not just bringing things up out of nowhere. If you're bringing things up out of nowhere that also have to do with extra payments, and you're, yeah, that could be considered being difficult. But if you're just addressing what the boundaries are and what your payment is for certain things before you even start them, that's not difficult. But maybe you don't know how to word that. That's where the system comes in, right? So that's just a phrase. It's not, scope control is not about being difficult. It never was. It's like if you're communicating properly, you're not being difficult. If somebody doesn't like a some type of um, if somebody doesn't like, let's say that you're on a project and someone else is on a project, right? If the other party doesn't like it, that's not you being difficult. That just means maybe it's not a good fit. So just keep that in mind. it's okay for you to state what you can and cannot do and what your prices are, because that's literally that's how you operate, right? How do you make like how are you supposed to get anything done if you don't have some type of structure? Maybe you have hundreds of other clients, so and if you go out of line for the one person, and that costs you extra time and money and resources that you didn't have, that could now mess you up with other clients. No, you have to keep some type of structure so that you can get everything done properly and get the pay that you're supposed to get for the exact work that you did, right? So you have to have some self-respect, right? But here's how you can communicate it. So it's about making, so scope control is not about being difficult, it's about making the work and choices visible, making things visible, making things clear, as I just kind of explained. So the first prompt is show quoted scope language. The second prompt is use options you can actually deliver and decide pricing and timing yourself. You're just communicating what you can do, what the price is, and when it can be done, right? Being clear, they can agree or not. That's the thing. Don't try to hold on to another add on. Don't try to hold on to something. If you change, you can negotiate things, but if there's something that's non-negotiable, be willing to lose something if it can't fit the negotiation, unless that's your only client. But if that's your only client you have and you have all the time in the world, and, and at least you can get the payment structured, and but maybe then all right, fine, you can negotiate more. But if you have a lot other clients, like you need to be putting in so many hours to so many different projects every day, and you need to be fitting all those time windows, and then yeah, you need to have structure, because you might not actually be capable of doing all that. And if you mess up with one of them, that's a bad review that could ruin your reputation, as a freelancer or in business, and that could cause you to not be able to get future work. So you have to have the boundaries so that you can make sure you can even get stuff done. That's why I keep saying it. Like you have to be real. You have to be. It's called being realistic, so that you don't mess up your own future. Literally, if you mess something up because you didn't handle something else properly that was even unrelated to it, then yeah, you're ruining it for yourself. You should have just stated what you can and cannot do and been honest, right? Don't overstretch yourself. If you want to overstretch yourself, you can, but be ready to be able to handle it, right? If you can't handle it, build up to that, or automate and or hire people to help you when you're at that level. You can get to that level, but don't mess up your chances of even getting to that level because you just ruin things for yourself beforehand, right? So okay, so the third prompt is before editing. Okay, the third prompt is addressing before editing. The fourth prompt is you're making approval explicit. And the fifth prompt is show future work boundary. And okay, so then this talking about agreement, legal terms, price, timeline, access, and client specific context. Those are just things that will get brought up as well. So now I'm going to flip to the screen. I'm going to show you the prompt, every prompt, read off every prompt, read off every answer, and how this all works together as a system to do exactly what the title is of this that I spoke on today, and that's a freelancer scope control workflow. So this system helps you create that and translate it and communicate it to a client. All right. So at the top we have the first prompt. It says compare this new client request to the agreed project scope. The returns that you'll get is clearly included, then unclear or needs clarification, and then new work. The quotes, excuse me, quote the relevant scope language, do not make a legal or contractual determination. And then there's the agreed scope, and then the new request that would have been pasted, but I already had ChatGPT put in that information. I already discussed that information with ChatGPT. So what's a part of clearly included is review 10 LinkedIn posts, same example as the past few days. So the scope language is review 10 LinkedIn posts. The new request is continue reviewing the same 10 posts. Identify uh, repeat messaging gaps. There's scope language. There's identify repeat messaging gaps. There's a new request. There's identify additional messaging gaps within those posts. There's 5 priority recommendations. There's scope language. There's give 5 priority recommendations. There's new requests. There's provide 5 recommendations based on the audit. Um, and then what's unclear needs clarification. This section has the walkthrough format. It's scope language, discuss it in one call. There's new requests. Can we make the walkthrough 45 minutes instead? There's clarification needed. It's confirm whether the requested 45-minute walkthrough replaces the previously stated call format. Um, and then for the new work section, is create 3 additional social posts from the audit. Then there's scope language is review 10 LinkedIn posts, identify repeat messaging gaps, give 5 priority recommendations, deliver a PDF and discuss it in one call. The new request is can you also turn the recommendations into a three new social posts? And this is not specifically described in the agreed scope, so it should be treated as new work to discuss rather than assuming it is included. Now, what did this answer do? What oh, what this answer did was, um, all right. So what this answer did was it compared the new client request to the agreed project scope, and the return was clearly included. Then there was unclear, needs clarification, and then there was new work. And then it quoted the relevant scope language, and it did not make legal or contractual determination based off the agreed scope notes I had, and then the new request information and agreed scope information, I should say, right? And then as you can see, all those sections were included. So clearly included, unclear, needs clarification. There, third section was new work, and then in each of those, it in each one of those, it discussed what was clearly include. Excuse me. It quoted the relevant scope language, and it did not make legal or contractual determination. Um, all right, getting a call. Can't pick this up right now. Obviously, in the middle of this video, my battery's low. I don't actually know who this is, so apologies. I don't even edit these videos. I'm gonna have to edit that out so you don't see their name. It's gonna take me more time. What a been nice if that didn't happen just now. Okay, so draft a okay. So the next prompt is draft a concise scope change message for this client. Acknowledge the request. Explain its relationship to the current scope. Present the provided options and ask for a priority. Ask for a priority decision. Do not invent price. Um, do not invent a timeline or do not invent availability. And then what we pasted, the information I gave it was the current scope. I gave it the new request, and I gave it the options I can offer. So the subject is LinkedIn messaging audit for BrightPath Consulting, and then the email was, "Hey Maya, like I said, this is all made up information that I use for these examples. Hey Maya, thanks for the additional request. The current scope covers reviewing 10 LinkedIn posts, identifying repeat messaging gaps, creating 5 priority recommendations, and delivering the findings in a PDF walkthrough. Turning recommendations into 3 new social posts would be additional work beyond that stated scope. And the options available are keep the current scope as outlined, add 3 social posts as a separate piece of work, and then there's fill in other another provided option. Which option would you like to um, prioritize. So what did this prompt? What did we get from the answer based on the prompt? It's draft a concise scope change message for this client. Acknowledge the request. Explain its relationship to the current scope and present the provided options and ask for a priority decision. Do not invent price, timeline, or availability. Um, so that's exactly what we did here. It drafted a concise scope change message for the client. Um, that was pretty much addressed. It acknowledged the request. It explained its relationship to the current scope and presented the provided options and asked for a priority decision. And so it said, thanks for the additional requests. The current scope covers the 10 LinkedIn posts, identifying the repeat messaging gaps, creating 5 priority recommendations, and delivering the findings in a PDF walkthrough. Turning the recommendations into 3 new social posts would be additional work beyond that stated scope. And then it listed the options so that it did exactly the prompt asked based on the information that I gave it. So it created the email with the exact information needed from the information you gave it, right? The next prompt is organizes client feedback into actionable changes, clarification needed, and possible new out of scope requests for each item. Include the exact feedback text and concise next action. Do not interpret vague feedback as a specific edit. And then the feedback was pasted in the example that I gave it. So the actionable changes in the answer was the feedback was please change the headline on slide 1 to find your repeat message. The next action was update the slide 1 headline to the requested wording. The next feedback was move the checklist from screenshot to the final shot. The next action was move the screenshot to the final shot. The clarification needed section with the feedback was first feedback was opening needs to feel more direct. The next action was ask what specific wording or changes they want for the opening. And then the next feedback was can you make recommendations stronger? And the next action was what specific change they want to the what's ask what specific change they want to the recommendations. Now in the section talking about possible new out of scope requests, the feedback um, would be could you also create 3 LinkedIn posts from this? The next action is confirm whether they want to add the 3 posts as separate work. And then the next feedback after that was can you turn this into a carousel too? And the next action is confirm whether the carousel is an additional requested deliverable. Now, what did this answer do? This answer organized client feedback into actionable changes, clarification needed, and possible new out of scope requests. And for each item, we included the exact feedback text and a concise next action, and we did not interpret vague feedback as a specific edit. That's exactly what happened. So for each section, there's actionable changes, clarification needed, and um, possible new out of scope requests. Each one had feedback. Each of them had 2 feedback points and a next action for each one. Right? Oops. All right. So the next prompt, it's gonna go over 20 minutes. So for Instagram, the rest of this is gonna be on YouTube and TikTok. All right. So the next prompt is draft an approval checkpoint email for this project stage. State what is ready to review, the exact decision needed, what work follows approval, and any open questions. Do not invent approval dates, deliverables, or client commitments. And then I pasted project state notes to use as an example. So the subject was approval checkpoint LinkedIn messaging audit. And the message was, hey, Mia, the LinkedIn messaging audit is ready to review, including a review of 10 LinkedIn posts, identified messaging gaps, and 5 priority recommendations in the PDF. The decision needed was please confirm whether the current audit and 5 recommendations are approved to move forward to the walkthrough. After approval, we proceed with a 45-minute walkthrough to discuss the PDF. And the open questions are: is a 45-minute walkthrough duration confirmed? And are there any specific questions or edits you'd like to address before the walkthrough? And that, thanks, Alex. That ended that email, right? Or that example. Now, what did that email do, or what was done in this answer? It was draft an approval checkpoint email for the project stage. State what is ready to review, the the exact decision needed, what work follows approval, and any open questions. And we did not invent approval dates. We did not invent deliverables, and we did not invent client commitments. And that's exactly what happened in this email. I could reread the entire thing, but just to jump to some points, it was the approval checkpoint LinkedIn messaging audit email, and we addressed the decision needed right here. We had we addressed what work follows approval right here, and then we addressed the open questions right here, and literally everything else was addressed. If you just pause and read what the email said based on the prompt we gave it, and then this came from obviously an example I gave, but it addressed what I gave from the example. You can see it was answered, right? Now for the fifth prompt, it's draft a project closeout email using these confirmed details. Include delivered items, file location if stated, agreed support, next steps, and how to request future work. Do not promise unlimited revisions. Do not promise support, and do not promise results. Um, and then I made up some confirmed details for it to use. Um, Now the subject was project closeout, LinkedIn audit, LinkedIn messaging audit. It was, hey man, the LinkedIn messaging audit is now ready for closeout. The delivered items, the first part was review 10 LinkedIn posts. The second part was identified repeat messaging gaps. The third part was 5 priority recommendations. The fourth part was PDF containing the audit findings and recommendations. Then there is the file location section. And from that, there is a completed PDF is in the shared Google Drive folder. And then the next part was the agreed support or next step, and that was we'll discuss the PDF during the 45-minute walkthrough. And then for future work, that was spoken about as, if you'd like to request additional work, please send the specific request so we can confirm whether it fits the existing scope or requires separate scope discussion. And then thanks, Alex, aka that's just the credentials we use for this example email. And what did this do? This is drafting a project closeout email using these confirmed details. It included delivered items. It included file location if stated, and it included agreed support, and next steps, and how to request future work. Excuse me. It did not promise unlimited revisions. It did not promise unlimited support, and it did not promise results, right? Or unlimited results, or blah blah. So that's exactly what was spoken about in this email. Here you can see um, it just got a section for delivered items. There's a section for file location. There's a section for agreed support and next step, and then there's a section for future work, aka exactly what we asked it to have stated from the prompt. Now, obviously, like I kind of say, it depends on. These are very, very general things that's probably highly applicable to lots of different types of work, but you would have to put what matters. Obviously, you fill in the blank and put what matters to the specific project that you are doing, and then you paste the notes regarding everything that's going on, and then yes, it sorts all this out, and then gives you what you want. That's what the system does. It makes it easier for you to structure and analyze, structure and put this information where it needs to be put regarding a message or a checklist or whatever needs to be shared between you and the client. AKA takes the brain work out of it, but keeps everything relevant and realistic and real. And now this is something you don't have to think about anymore, and it's already taken care of you, right? Now, if you like access to high quality prompts like this and more, you can find them inside Promptify. It's free to start, and the link is in the bio. If there's anything I said today that was helpful, that is amazing, and I hope you have a great day.